Speaking of General Motors, there's a story out right now saying that the Congress, the Democratic leaders in the Congress and President Bush have agreed on a temporary bailout of the auto industry. This would be enough to keep the industry running until a final arrangement is worked out under President-elect Obama. The stock market seems to be approving so far. It's up about 111 points as we head into our break. It seems from the reports that we're receiving, that anybody can find on the internet, that Greece has basically been brought to a standstill today. Clashes have broken out at the main court complex in Athens, where two police officers accused in the fatal shooting of a teenager earlier 5 days ago were testifying. Firebombs were thrown at the court building by protesting youths. Police fired tear gas back at them. The protesters also attacked and damaged a TV satellite truck. The fatal shooting of the teenager on Saturday has sparked massive riots across the country. The clashes escalated into running battles through the city center of Athens, with riot police firing volleys of tear gas. The youth smashed windows, newly replaced after 4 days of the worst riots Greece has seen in decades. More than 10,000 people had been marching through central Athens. Clashes ended up breaking out in other cities, including Thessalonica and Kavala. We had mentioned yesterday that London sources quoted in the Insurance Day were saying that a loss in a football match last night by the Athens team Panathinaikos against a team from Cyprus could spur further disorder. Here's a picture of the crowd at that game. I don't know if you can see it, but they're holding up a huge banner saying "No justice, no peace." Fortunately for underwriters, Panathinaikos won the game against Cyprus 1-0. Some economic news from China this morning. China's exports and imports shrank unexpectedly during the month of November as the fourth largest economy in the world slowed in a startling, abrupt way. This in response to the global credit crunch. The drop in exports from a year ago level was the biggest since April of '99, while the decline in imports was the steepest since monthly records began being kept. Other Asian export powerhouses, including South Korea and Taiwan, had already reported significant drops. Economists had expected China's exports to rise 15% and imports to increase 12%. However, exports dropped 2.2%, so that's a 17+% swing, and imports dropped by 18%, so that's a 30% swing. According to a gentleman who is the economic monitor at the Beijing newspaper, he said global demand for Chinese products is vanishing. Secondly, the credit freeze in importing countries has made it hard for Chinese exporters to sell abroad. Chinese leaders had wrapped up a 3-day strategy meeting this morning in Beijing by setting steady growth as their top objective in 2009, pledging to ramp up public spending and tax cuts. I'm always interested in seeing the difficulties faced by China as they meet capitalism for the first time without a democratic institutional base. We have some disaster news. This is a disaster program. In Russia, an emergency official says one person is dead and 2 others feared trapped after part of a building collapsed in downtown Moscow. City emergency people are saying that the ceilings and walls caved in at the site of a 6-story apartment building that's being reconstructed. The site is close to the old Arbat pedestrian area in Moscow that is popular with tourists. The situation in Zimbabwe, the former Rhodesia, is becoming out of control, some fear, with the cholera epidemic. A total of 774 people have died in the epidemic. The World Health Organization says that the death toll on Wednesday, this morning, was almost 200 more than the one reported yesterday. The World Health Organization has warned that up to 60,000 people could become infected if the epidemic is not checked. There are almost 15,000 known cases of cholera in Zimbabwe, according to the UN. 3 major hospitals have closed in the country because of the deepening financial crisis. Hundreds of people have been forced to cross the border and seek treatment in South Africa. Zimbabwean officials, of course, beginning with Robert Mugabe on down, insist that the epidemic is under control. They accuse Britain and the U.S. of planning an invasion amid the deteriorating health situation, food shortages, and economic collapse. President Nicolas Sarkozy of France added his voice for the growing calls for Mugabe's resignation in Harare. He said, "We have a serious humanitarian and health crisis in Zimbabwe. We have cholera. Do they think they can eradicate cholera with guns?" The African Union is calling upon its member nations to send troops to Zimbabwe and take control of the country and ensure urgent humanitarian and health assistance. Something will happen there. You can be sure on that. Severe storms in Texas tore through the northern part of the state yesterday, with probable tornadoes damaging or destroying more than 20 homes. Teams from the National Weather Service in Fort Worth said they believe 2 possible twisters hit in an area near South Maid and Denison, about 70 miles north of Dallas. Uprooted trees, overturned tractor trailers, blown out car windows, and a destroyed bowling alley were also part of the damage. The death toll after a speeding bus carrying Hindu pilgrims in India caught fire and crashed in the northern part of the country has now risen to 63. The bus, which had 52 seats, was crammed with more than 100 people when it caught fire, overturned, and slid for several hundred yards down a highway. According to the police, the bus was jam-packed. Some people were sitting on the roof, and there was not an inch of space inside the bus. As fire engulfed the vehicle, passengers found the exits blocked by luggage and flames. It occurred about 200 kilometers southwest of Lucknow, the capital of Uttar Pradesh. However, officials have said that each victim's family will receive compensation of 100,000 rupees, which is $2,000 U.S. This morning in Poland, police have evacuated more than 2,000 people because of a huge 1-ton unexploded World War II bomb discovered in the southwestern Polish city of Wrocław. The entire area has been evacuated, including residents, students, and town hall employees. They're going to dig the bomb out, which weighs 1 ton, and take it to a testing range to be detonated. This next picture is a picture of an African black rhinoceros, a rather menacing creature. If you've seen The Gods Must Be Crazy, you know that one of the things they do is stamp out fires in the jungle. The African black rhinoceroses live in the jungle. One lives here. This is the San Francisco Zoo. This is an interesting story. A man was cited for disturbing animals at the San Francisco Zoo on Monday of this week after he jumped into the black rhinoceros enclosure. Could we have that picture of the rhinoceros again? Why don't you keep this up for a bit? Neither the man who was cited nor the rhinoceros was injured, although zoo officials said the man is very lucky the rhino didn't charge him. According to the San Francisco Animal Care and Control Chief, Carl Friedman, the man apparently scrambled down a short embankment from a roadway down into the enclosure. He scaled one fence designed to keep people out and then jumped over a sturdier metal fence to keep the rhinoceros penned in.